From the desk of Zoe Washington. Hello, All Stars. Welcome back. I hope you had a restful winter break and I hope you took some time to do something that you really enjoy. For me, it was reading. This is my space that I go to do my bullet journals and to do some reading and things like that I really enjoy doing. So, welcome to my space. The book that I would really like to start with is one that I just bought for myself and just started reading actually. It's called From the Desk of Zoe Washington. This book is a level 4.4. If this is anywhere on your reading level, you will be able to test on it when we finish reading it. As always, the words to this book will be on the screen, so you can read along with me, or you can just relax and hear the story. Either way, I think you'll enjoy it. For a little bit of background, it's Zoe's birthday, and she's about your age. She loves to bake, and she gets to go to a professional bakery and bake her own cupcakes with her best friend. So that's as much as I will tell you for now because I want you to let me know what you think of this book so far. I really, really like it. She does get a mysterious letter on her birthday. Let me know what you think of that, and let's get started. From the Desk of Zoe Washington by Janae Marks. I'm reading this in my Libby app. This is a free application if you have a public library card. Dedication for my mom and my daughter, my biggest inspirations. If you participate in Accelerated Reader, this book is a level 4.4. Chapter 1. The day I turned 12, I was certain it'd be my favorite birthday yet. But then I got the letter. I'd just had my dream party at Ari's Cakes. Mom's friend, Ariana, owned the bakery in Beacon Hill, my favorite neighborhood in all of Boston. It had cute brick buildings and townhouses with cobblestone streets. There was a deli with baskets of fresh fruit for sale outside, a chocolate shop, a coffee shop, and a ton of fancy restaurants. And then there was Ari's Cakes with its pretty pale blue awning and a wooden sign above it with the store's name written in white script. Her front window always had lots of cupcakes on display along with fresh flowers. You could smell the sugar before you walked in. Even though it was pouring rain outside, I felt like the luckiest girl. I'd been in a professional kitchen with my best friends, Jasmine and Maya, as we baked and decorated chocolate fudge cupcakes. When my parents and I got home, Dad pulled his rain jacket hood onto his head and rushed inside with the box of leftover cupcakes. Mom, using an umbrella, carried my gift bags. I hurried behind them and on my way in grabbed the mail from the mailbox next to our front door. While I kicked off my sneakers in our foyer, I flipped through the envelopes, checking to see if my great aunt's birthday card arrived. She usually included money, and I was dying to add an egg separator to my baking supplies. There was a catalog and some junk mail from credit card companies, and then I spotted a plain white envelope with my name, Zoe Washington, and my address handwritten in neat blue print. I glanced at the return address and froze. Massachusetts State Penitentiary was typed in the upper left corner across from a waving American flag stamp. The name Marcus Johnson was written in that same blue handwriting above the prison's name. It was a letter from my convict father, a man I'd never heard from before. I couldn't believe it. Just like that, my birthday didn't matter anymore. The envelope slipped from my fingers, landing on the floor. My dog Butternut ran over and started licking it, but I snatched it up and dropped it onto the table next to the front door. Why would Marcus write to me? Why now? I only owned one picture of him, which Grandma had given me, since Mom would never approve. It was one of Mom's pictures that Grandma had saved from when Mom and Marcus were in high school as sweethearts. I'd hidden the picture between the pages of one of my journals. In it, Marcus was at a Boston Celtics game, wearing a team sweatshirt and a huge smile. My smile looked like his, which was weird. Someone I never met had the exact same smile as me, and his brown skin matched mine. Mom's skin was a little lighter. Now Marcus was sitting in a prison cell, probably wearing an orange jumpsuit. That's how I imagined people in prison. I bet he didn't smile much there. I picked up the envelope and rubbed my thumb across the seal. But all of a sudden my fingers stopped working and I froze in place. I wanted to read it, but I was also terrified of what it might say. He committed a terrible crime. What if he'd written something scary? It was only a piece of paper, but the feeling wouldn't go away. I took a deep breath and started to open the envelope again, but then I heard Mom come down the stairs. I knew it was Mom and not my stepdad Paul because she was humming a song, which she did a lot, especially in front of the bathroom mirror when she was putting on makeup. She had a pretty good voice, but she always said it was because of the bathroom acoustics. That was wrong because my stepdad sometimes sang in the shower and the acoustics didn't stop him from sounding like a dying coyote. I quickly tucked the letter into the pocket on the inside of my rain jacket. It wouldn't be a good idea to show Mom. I was pretty sure she'd take it away without letting me read it. I hoped she couldn't hear how hard my heart was beating. "I put the gift bags in your room," she said. "Thanks." "Did you have fun today?" she asked. "Your cupcakes came out so pretty." "It was amazing," I told Mom. But now I couldn't focus on how amazing it was, not with Marcus's letter taking up so much space in my brain. "This today's mail?" Mom stared at the foyer table where I'd left the rest of it. "Yep. I grabbed it from the mailbox." "Thanks." But then her eyebrows scrunched together, and her shoulders did what they did when she was stressed. They lifted up toward her ears. She smiled at me, but it was a forced smile, like she wasn't actually happy. She picked up the pile of mail as she flipped through it. Her shoulders slowly returned to their normal position. "I thought Auntie Lillian's card might have come, but I didn't see it." I swallowed hard, thinking of the letter that had come. I wondered if I should tell Mom about it, but what if it made her mad or upset? She didn't like to talk about Marcus. Mom smiled at me for real. "It'll come. Anyway, there's one more birthday surprise for you. We're going to order Hawaiian-ish pizza for dinner." I forced myself to smile. Hawaiian-ish was the name I'd given my favorite pizza combo, pineapple and pepperoni instead of ham. Since Mom and Stepdad thought it was gross, we usually only got those toppings on half a pie. "Sounds great." I cleared my throat. "I'm gonna go to my room and, put my gifts away." It was a total lie, but that's not what Mom noticed. "You're not going to take your jacket off?" she asked. Marcus's envelope was still in my pocket, right over my heart, which was beating fast. "I'll take it off in my room." I walked away before Mom could say anything else. What could Marcus have to say to me? I had to know. Chapter 2. I shut my bedroom door and opened the envelope. The paper inside was a piece of loose leaf, like what Mom would buy to put in my school binders. The words filling the page were written in the same blue handwriting from the front of the envelope, except the print wasn't as neat. I stood in the middle of my bedroom and read the letter from start to finish, and then I read it again, except everything was quiet except for my heartbeat echoing in my eardrums. "To my little tomato, happy birthday. I can't believe you're 12 years old. Wow. Do I sound like a broken record when I say that you're growing up so fast? Do you even know what a broken record is? Everybody used to listen to CDs when I was growing up, but my dad, your grandpa, kept a record player in the corner of the living room. He always said that music sounds better coming from a record player. He might be right. His favorite singer is Stevie Wonder. Have you ever heard any of his songs? He has a pretty great voice. There's this little song called Isn't She Lovely? You should look it up sometime. Stevie's saying exactly how I feel about you, my baby girl. Well, you're not a baby anymore, but I know you've got to be pretty lovely at this age. I wish I could give you a big hug and see your smiling face on your big day. I'm sorry I can't be there to celebrate with you. I know your mom is doing something special. She was always good at knowing how to celebrate birthdays when we were together. Even if you never reply to these letters, I'll keep writing them, though I hope you'll write back to me one day. In the meantime, I want you to know that I think about you every day. Love, Daddy." All I could do was stand there staring at the paper in my hands. I was like the Tin Man in The Wizard of Oz when he needed to be oiled. My arms and legs felt stiff, like they'd weighed 1,000,000 pounds if I tried to move them. Why did Marcus sound so nice? Mom always made it seem like he was a bad person. He didn't seem like he was writing from prison. I wasn't sure how someone in prison would sound exactly, but I guess they wouldn't sound so smart. He seemed normal. He liked music like any other dad, like my stepdad, who was into classical and jazz music. I'd heard of Stevie Wonder, and I thought I knew a couple of his songs. I'd look up Isn't She Lovely later. I read the letter again. Why had he called me Little Tomato? It was kind of weird. I liked tomatoes, especially the little ones, but I didn't want to be called one. What did Marcus mean when he wrote these letters? This was the first one I'd ever gotten from him. It didn't make any sense. None of this did. I stared at my striped rug as 1,000,000 thoughts swirled around my head like cake batter in a mixer. Should I write him back? What will happen if I do? I had no idea Marcus thought about me. But what if he was pretending to be nice to me because he wanted something from me? What, though? Maybe I should throw the letter away. There was a knock on my bedroom door, which made me jump 2 feet and almost drop the letter. I clutched the loose leaf paper in my now sweating hands. Hey, Zoe? It was Mom. I tensed up. 1 second! I stuffed the letter back into the envelope and tucked it underneath my purple comforter. I remembered I was still wearing my jacket, so I took it off and threw it over the back of my desk chair. Then I cracked my bedroom door open. Trevor's here, Mom said. Trevor, what's he doing here? As if she could hear my thoughts, Mom said, he wants to give you his birthday present since he wasn't at your party. There was a reason for that. He wasn't invited. Can you tell him I'm busy? I whispered. Mom's glare made it clear she was not about to do that. Please? It's my birthday and he's not my friend anymore. Not after he made our friendship out to be a total joke. Mom's expression softened a little. When are you going to tell me what happened? I shook my head. No way was I telling her anything. She'd probably force me to forgive Trevor, and that was not going to happen. You know, as a brand new 12-year-old, Mom said, you're old enough to understand how rude it'd be if you don't come out and thank him for the gift in person. She forced my door open wider. Come on. All I wanted to do was read Marcus's letter again and figure out what it all meant and what I should do next. But first, I had to deal with my ex-best friend. Chapter 3. I trudged behind Mom to the living room where Dad was talking with Trevor's mom, Patricia. Trevor usually celebrated my birthday with me. We were in the same grade and had been neighbors practically our whole lives. Our families shared a 2-family home, a baby blue house with 2 side-by-side white front porches, a wooden porch, a paved driveway, and a 2-car garage. During the summer, my friends Jasmine and Maya always left town. Maya would go to a sleepaway camp in the Catskills, and then on vacation with her parents and younger sister. This year they were going to San Francisco, and as for Jasmine, she normally spent the whole summer at her grandparents' house in Maryland with her twin brother and cousins. But this summer, she was actually moving to Maryland. Her parents decided they wanted to live closer to her parents all year round. When I said goodbye to Jasmine at the end of my birthday party, I cried, having no idea when I'd get to see her next. I'd stay home for the summer as usual. Mom didn't believe in spending thousands of dollars for summer activities when I could have fun at home for free. Like always, Grandma would watch me while my parents were at work. I never really minded being home for the summer because I always had Trevor. We'd come up with our own adventures, like riding our bikes around our neighborhood or making s'mores using the microwave. Last summer, we watched all the Marvel movies on Trevor's dad's big screen TV. Sometimes Trevor would help me bake cookies or brownies. We never got bored when we were with each other. But this was not going to be like all our other summers. A month earlier, Trevor betrayed me, and I hadn't talked to him since. I had no idea how I'd entertain myself without him. since bike riding and movie marathoning didn't sound as fun alone. I couldn't even complain to Mom because she'd tell me to use my imagination or say that being bored was good for me. When I walked into the living room, Trevor was standing next to the couch. I narrowed my eyes at his baggy Medford Middle School basketball t-shirt. He probably wore it over here on purpose to rub it in my face that he only cared about the team. He was playing that old school Mario game on his phone again. I recognized the beeps and cheery music coming from the speaker. But then he lowered his phone and his eyes locked with mine. I looked away. The thing was, I knew Trevor way too well. Even though I only saw his face for a second, I knew what that look meant. A, he didn't want to be there either, and B, he was still confused about why I was mad at him. Well, I wasn't about to tell him. He should be able to figure it out for himself. Happy birthday, Zoe! Patricia came over and gave me a hug. Your dad says you guys were at the bakery. Sounds like you had a good time. I thanked her while thinking, why would he do that? I didn't want to have to explain why Trevor wasn't invited along, but lucky for me, Patricia didn't say anything about that. Trish, do you want a cupcake? Mom asked her. We have a lot left over. What? Those were my cupcakes. I crossed my arms. It's the best chocolate cupcake I've ever had, Dad added, and I'm not just saying that because Zoe made them. He winked at me. I glanced over at Trevor, who was standing straight up now, peering towards the kitchen. He couldn't resist anything with chocolate. Back when we still hung out together, Trevor and I spent a lot of time making and eating snacks, especially chocolate ones. One time he was so desperate, he sucked the coating off chocolate-covered raisins, even though he hated raisins. Just eat the whole thing, I'd told him before popping a chocolate-covered raisin into my mouth. They're good. They're shriveled up grapes, like many grape corpses. Disgusting. He sucked the chocolate off another one and then reached the spit-covered raisin out to me. Since you like raisins so much, you can have mine. Ew, I grimaced. He pushed it closer to my face, so I stood up to get away from him. Then he chased me around my house with it. We made several laps around the kitchen island and ended up in the living room where we collapsed on the couch, laughing so hard that tears streamed from my eyes. My throat tightened. It was hard to imagine laughing like that with Trevor again. Girl, I can never say no to cake, Patricia was saying with a laugh. Mom laughed too. I'll get you a couple. Patricia followed my parents down the hall, leaving Trevor and me behind. I wish I could leave Trevor alone and go back to Marcus's letter, but I'd get in trouble if I did that. Instead, I leaned against the doorway between the living room and the hallway, ready to make my escape as soon as I could. Trevor and I were quiet for a few seconds, and then he said, Happy birthday, by the way. It didn't sound like he really meant it, which made me want to kick him in his shins. Why are you even here? I asked. To apologize about what he said about me? To make it up to me on my birthday? To give you your present, he said. I thought you'd be hanging out with one of your teammates. I said the word teammates as if it tasted like burnt cookies and sour milk. Trevor shrugged. I huffed and turned away. Fortunately, that's when my parents and Patricia returned from the kitchen. Patricia held a Tupperware filled with 2 cupcakes. I hope you like your present, Zoe. Patricia pointed to the wrapped rectangle on the coffee table. We should get going. I have the night shift. She was a nurse at Massachusetts General Hospital and was already wearing her pale blue scrubs. Her pressed hair was in a neat bun on top of her head. Mom gave me a look that meant, what do you say? Right. Thank you, I said, looking only at Patricia. She smiled and said goodbye, and Trevor followed her without another word. I was about to head back to my room when Dad said, Let's see what Trevor got you. I didn't care what Trevor got me, but Mom and Dad were staring at me and waiting for me to open the gift, so I sat down on the couch and unwrapped it. It was a cookbook, but not any cookbook. The new one by Ruby Willow, the 13-year-old pastry chef I was obsessed with. She'd won a kid baking competition on the Food Network, my dream. I grinned as I flipped through the pages, which had pictures to go along with the recipes. S'mores brownies, fried Oreos, peanut butter and jelly macaroons. Yum! Isn't she that chef you like? Mom asked. You told them to get this, right? I asked her. Mom shook her head. Actually, your dad and I were going to get it for you, but then Trish called and asked if it'd be a good gift idea. She said Trevor suggested it. Oh, I said. It was probably before I stopped talking to him. Whatever. I couldn't let that stop me from enjoying the cookbook. I'm going to my room now. I was done thinking about Trevor. Marcus's letter was way more important. Chapter 4. I sat on the porch steps with my earbuds in while Butternut napped in a patch of sun at my feet. It was the best kind of summer morning, not too hot, not too sunny, and not too many mosquitoes out to bite me. Our dead-end street was quiet. The only person I could see around was our older neighbor across the street, who was watering the hydrangea bushes, lining his front yard with a hose. I was listening to Stevie Wonder's Isn't She Lovely, which I downloaded the night before. I had heard it before, though I wasn't sure when. Maybe Mom had played it at some point, or it was in the background of a movie. How weird that it reminded Marcus of me. We were complete strangers. If Marcus was such a monster, why would he like listening to Stevie Wonder? Stevie's music was so upbeat and happy. It didn't add up. Maybe Marcus was lying to me. It was hard to tell. I decided to write him back, just this once. Maybe I could get some answers. Why he did what he did? Whether he cared at all that I was going to be born? Was he writing me now because he felt guilty? On my lap was a journal Jasmine got me for my birthday, which had a Z made of flowers on the cover and a purple pen. Tucked into the back of the journal was Marcus's letter, which I'd read 100 more times. I decided to write a draft of a letter back to Marcus in the journal. Getting the words out could help me figure out how I felt and what I really wanted to know from him. Before I could start, I heard the creak of a storm door opening and closing behind me. It woke Butternut up, and he ran to the top step to see who was coming outside. I didn't have to turn around to know it wasn't my door that had opened. It was Trevor's. His was the only door that creaked like that. Trevor's parents had left earlier, so either Trevor or his older brother Simon had come outside. I glanced back, just my luck. It was Trevor. If it was last summer, I would have been excited to hear him come out. It'd mean the start of one of our adventures, but not anymore. I hoped he was on his way out so he wouldn't hang around. He was probably going to spend all summer with the basketball guys. Butternut ran over to Trevor, and his collar jingled as he jumped up Trevor's leg, asking to be pet. Butternut didn't care that Trevor and I were in a fight. I wished he would give Trevor the cold shoulder, too. Instead of leaving, Trevor sat down on the other side of the steps and took a book out of his cargo shorts pocket, the Golden Compass. From his other pocket, he took out a red sports drink and a small bottle of sunblock, which his mom always insisted he wear during the summer. Butternut flopped back into a sunny patch on the steps between the two of us. I tried to ignore Trevor and go back to my journal, but I could see him out of the corner of my eye. He was acting like everything was normal, like this was a regular Sunday with us hanging out together on the porch, playing Go Fish or Spit. Right then, he was squirting big globs of sunblock onto his hands and rubbing it into his brown skin until the white lotion disappeared. The scent, a mix of chemicals and coconut, filled the air. Do you have to be out here right now? I took my earbuds out for a second and put my journal down on the step. Trevor looked up from his book. It's my porch, too. I'm on my side. Trevor's family lived in the left side of the house. He was currently sitting on the left side of the wooden porch steps. As if to make his point, he scooted even closer to the left railing until he touched it. I didn't have a good argument, so I scooted even farther to the right side of the porch steps. I put my earbuds back in and raised the volume a little more, letting Stevie Wonder's singing voice fill my ears. I picked up my pen and started to write. Dear, what should I call Marcus? I couldn't call him Dad. Paul had been my dad ever since Mom married him when I was 5. He might look nothing like me, with his olive skin and hazel eyes, but he was my dad in all the ways that mattered. I sometimes called adults by their first names, like Trevor's mom, Patricia. But that was because I'd known Patricia forever, and at one point she told me to call her that. I crossed out dear and started over. Hi. Even with that settled, I had no idea what to write next. I got your letter, I began. I was really surprised since I never thought I'd hear from you. There was a tap on my shoulder, so I looked up. Trevor. He had scooted down toward my end of the porch steps. Now he was clearly in my space, with Butternut happily wagging his tail next to him. Trevor's mouth was moving, and when he realized I couldn't hear him, he pointed to my earbuds. I yanked them out. What do you want? What are you writing? He asked. Are you kidding me? I stood up. What? Trevor rubbed one of his eyes. I'm not talking to you. Why not? Because, I said. That's not a reason, Trevor said. Butternut barked and jumped up my leg. I sighed loudly. Ugh, I couldn't even write a letter on my own steps without Trevor messing it up. Forget it. Take the whole porch if you want. I'm going inside. I turned toward my door with my journal tucked under my arm. Hold up, Trevor said. I took a deep breath and got ready to yell at him and to get a clue already, but when I faced him, he was holding Marcus's letter, which must have fallen out of my journal. It was unfolded and he was reading it. What are you doing? Stop it! I snatched the letter from him. That's mine. It's private. Trevor put his hands up in the air, but he looked me straight in the eyes. Is that from your dad? I stopped short. What are you talking about? I tried to keep my face even and make my voice sound casual. Your dad that's in jail? Trevor paused and then said, He's there because he killed somebody, right? My breath caught in my throat. How do you know that? Even though Trevor and I used to be close, I never told him about what Marcus did. I didn't want to talk about it with anyone. Trevor, Jasmine, and Maya knew my birth dad was in prison, but not why. I hated that this person related to me was a monster, a murderer. It made me want to throw up. He could be locked up for the rest of his life, but there was a chance he could get out early after serving 25 years. It was called parole. I sort of hoped that wouldn't happen. Trevor shrugged. Your mom told my mom once. They were in our kitchen, and I was coming down the hall. They didn't know I could hear them. When? I asked. Trevor thought about it. Last year or something. You never told me. I didn't know if you knew. It seemed like a secret or something. Oh. I wasn't sure what else to say. Trevor stepped closer to me. Why aren't you talking to me? And why didn't you invite me to your birthday? There was a long pause before I said, I know what you said about me. His eyebrows scrunched up. Huh? I didn't want to repeat the words. Plus, I was in the middle of something, and Trevor was getting in the way. Again. I don't have time for this right now, I told him. Before Trevor could say anything else, I turned around and began to storm inside. But then I remembered something important and turned back. One other thing. You better not tell anyone about the letter. Seriously, you cannot tell anyone. If you do, I paused. I'll never, ever forgive you. I won't tell, Trevor said, his face serious. Even though you won't say why you're mad at me, you can't ignore me forever. Watch me. Before Trevor could say anything else, I went inside, Butternut trailing behind me. A moment later, I heard Trevor's storm door creak open and closed. With my journal and Marcus's letter in hand, I ran down the hall to my room. Now I could focus on what really mattered. All right, that's all we have time for today, boys and girls. I really hope that you like the story so far. If you do, let me know. Just send me an email or leave a reply somewhere after the link. Let me know what you think. Or if you want to hear another kind of story, let me know that too. I love to do about it. Anyway, until next time. Bye.